Today I have with me Roger from Unleash Insights. If you don't measure it, basically you can't improve it. So you've got to know your numbers. Roger's a big numbers guy. I, in my background, have been a big numbers guy, being in engineering for 15 years, always measuring, always analyzing. And that's what Roger did. Roger's experience included 24 years with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, where he helped business intelligence for enterprise. But I'm going to let Roger tell you all about himself, his background, and how he came to create Unleash Insights. So Roger, please, a little bit of information about yourself and how you came to where you are today.
Well, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you having me here. Unleash Insight we're a business analytics firm and just support decision making by gaining insights from data. Because what do business owners want to do? They want to cut out the losses and find more wins. So it's playing a little Moneyball, little part Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and there to add a little science to the art of business. That hey, what's everyone trying to do? Trying to help the team see the paths to success. So companies come to me when they're anxious. Hey, where's that next location or target market? Challenge hiring and finding people. Everybody's got that challenge now. Frustrated with wasted marketing dollars. I like how a CEO put it. Hey, I'm tired of getting 100 reports and none of them tell me how to improve revenue and profitability. So as Greg mentioned, I fortunately fell upon Enterprise Rent-A-Car and worked there for 24 years. And it was great that in the second half of my career there, I was in the used car division, and it was like perfect timing because as the 2007 recession hit, leadership there realized that, we kind of had a broken business model, that we had these little postage stamp dealerships, and that, hey, we needed to be like other ones and be larger. So I helped support that transformation, starting with, well, what does this look like? And one was I showed the numbers that, if we sell 50 plus cars, it's a pretty good business model. We could take care of our people. Hey, we can make some profit, make some good profits, and start showing, hey, what does that look like? This is how much inventory you need. This is how much local marketing you need to combine with national marketing. This is how many salespeople you need. And hey, leadership, this is, here's where you need to put, you need to have locations with a certain amount of opportunity. So from there, we started doing location planning strategies, hours and staffing studies, evaluating the right KPIs. At the end of the day, we became a data-driven culture. And the results were pretty good because in the first 4 years, I remember sales per store increased like 50%, profits quadrupled. And I know since I left, they're about, I think this year they'll double sales since I left 5 years ago. So they got a great leadership team, and they've done fantastic. So and that's awesome for them. So what I did, I want to do like I did for Enterprise. I believe small to mid-sized companies can play this money ball too to gain a competitive advantage. And that's where I help. We can do this. Everyone needs to do these. I believe add this science to the art of business. It's great. The art is always there in a piece of the business. But when you add that different perspective, it can help you just optimize the business model. My main niche is with multi-location companies. So like retail, consumer services, restaurants, things with multiple areas is, a lot of things that I help and target with.
Excellent. So on the market research that you're looking at there, so you're going to be looking at the territories and the target audience. How do you go about doing that? What's your process for that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the keys, I think, as you're building a business is understanding your opportunity. And so that's the big one is, hey, what is the number of chances that I have? And it can be, one way I'm working with a company now is just, understanding the volume and that of the way people search online. It's called keyword research, and just, hey, learning of, hey, how many people are searching for these needs in Google? And can I learn from that to understand how many people are out there? It can also be just, hey, getting a list of companies. If you're targeting specific industries, hey, how can we go get a list and know that in my target area, it might be, hey, how many auto dealerships are there? How many restaurants are there? Just so hey, how many chances do I have for each industry type? More specifically, like with especially a lot of consumer things, it can be a key thing is understanding when you got locations is understanding your average drive time and then your target audience. I've done for some where it might be just simply demographics and household income. So it can help identify that, hey, how many households from each location are there within 10 minutes over $100,000? You can also do, I've seen where people have also done, there's these things called like psychographic things that'll help you understand like kind of different behavior traits. You can use those things also to me, the important thing is using the data to identify specifically what that target audience is. And at the end of the day, I love getting that, hey, you come up with a single market opportunity score. And I think about it, I just had somebody that I know is buying some multi-unit franchises, and he knows, a couple of his locations might be smaller, but I go, how much smaller? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, wouldn't it help to know that, hey, is it 20% smaller, 30% smaller? He's like, that would be kind of good to know. So something to think about as you do that. As you get a franchise territory, or you're doing your locations, is this an average store, or is this a bigger store, or is this maybe going to be smaller? Because you want to be mindful of that, because, hey, how's that going to impact, hey, the size of the building you put on, hey, the number of people you have for the store, your expectations, because you maybe don't need to expect as much from this lower store than you do the others.
Oh, that's a good point. And then, as you said, the drive time to the store and the number of people and income levels, they all come into play when you're looking at locations.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is most people overestimate the drive time to their locations. I've done some work for a couple fitness centers, and I love doing it because, hey, how far do your people come? And they're all like, 15, 20 minutes away. And when we come back, it's like, well, really, it's primarily 10 is where the highest ROI is, 10 minutes away, because a lot of those people coming far away are working or doing something in that area there. So that's where, it's really two audiences. There's a residential and there's a commercial, and you might have to target those messaging. It might be different for those targets. Another good example, I had someone, a fast casual restaurant that, they're sharing their information from their site selection company, and they go, we base our location planning and marketing based on an average drive time of 18 minutes. And I just go, when was the last time you drove to a fast casual restaurant 18 minutes? And the room kind of went quiet. And the reality it was probably 5 customers that drove 10 minutes, 1 that drove 30 to create the average of 18. And that guy that drove 30 was probably working or shopping in the area. So that, as you're, I always caution on using averages can be very dangerous, that you might get some misinformation and expand something rather than focusing on, I kind of call it putting them in buckets. That's where you want to learn where that ROI drops. So,
yeah, being a numbers guy, I know average is one data point out too far, and most people don't know the difference.
Yeah, a couple things could skew. Yeah. A couple outliers can kind of skew what reality is.
Yep. And not too many people go into means versus averages on that one, or know that. So it's good to have a data person that can help you out with that. Perfect. Now, you also do things with people. So the right people, investing in hiring the right people. How does that come into play with?
A couple things. One, it's one of the things I learned from Enterprise. Enterprise is very fortunate because you learn so much. And number one is it's about, take care of your employees and take care of your customers. And the big one is taking care of your employees. I've heard this from multiple people. You take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. So it's all about getting the right people. And I look at all the work I do. One of my big values is, a couple of my values is fairness and community. Are we evaluating people fairly? And community being, hey, how do we coach and help these people? That's what all my data is about, is coaching and helping the team. So a couple of aspects where I've helped clientele is, one, on the hiring and retention front. I've done studies where, looking at the data, we can evaluate and find opportunities. I had a client that was having trouble with retention. It was a revolving door, and their recruiting team was working nonstop. And we did a study, and first on the retention side, identified some areas like, hey, there was a specific manager area that was having trouble that they needed to evaluate. One of the things is they had part-time workers was 30+% of their staff. And they're like, well, why do you have part-time? And they're like, we've always done it that way. The old way, we've always done it that way. It's like, okay, we need to look at that, because those part-time people, it's a revolving door. Mm-hmm. So, some was compensation. They were like, hey, you know what? Let's look at compensation was an issue for some of theirs. Other things was, probably the biggest lesson on the hiring side was, their different locations could communicate and talk to each other and learn from each other. That one was, one of the things was on retention basis that, hey, once you got past 30 minutes of an employee driving to the location, the retention kind of dropped. And some of their locations were really not focusing on their local area. They were going further outside. Others could even be, age, culture, where are there opportunities that you might see in some opportunities that you didn't see before, that, hey, is there opportunities to target those specific communities or age groups that might help out, that they're working really well in their area. The other one I mentioned is that, I look at the data can help with coaching and training people. That's all about. I look at, you get two sales guys and hey, they're both selling 10, but you expect them to be selling 15 units a month. You go to the first one, you help them go over and you see through the things you're helping them with is coaching and going through his sales objections because his close rate's not very good. The other one, reality is his close rate's actually above average, but his number of leads is short. And it might be just a young rookie and really he's just lacking confidence. And that's where I look at it as hey, you can see the math that instead of like hitting him up, hey, dude, you got to sell more, you got to sell more, you got to sell more. When you look at the data, you can maybe realize that, hey, he's doing good. He just needs a pat on the back and boost his confidence and say, hey, keep it up. Look at your numbers. You're closing great. You just need to keep picking up the phone or getting out to customers and meeting more people. That, look at, there's two different training and coaching depending on, is it a close issue or is it a lead issue? And that can change. That conversation can be, I think can be, have very different outcomes on which one you want to, help coach that person on. And I think the other point I help people with is you'll hear me talk about opportunity a lot and number of chances. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big one is that, hey, when you get caught up looking at just the numerator, it might not tell the whole story. That I have a client that, based on revenue and profitability, their Webster location was number one. Well, once I put that denominator in there of market opportunity, I said, hey, they're very average. And they're like, what? And it's like, hey, look, they got one of the top opportunities in the area. They could do a lot more. So one of the first things we started talking about was a leadership issue. And they're like, no, that store is full, busy, occupancy is crazy. And then all of a sudden, and I go, well, how many service stations they have? And they're like 6. How many service stations do all the other stores have? They're like 6. And I'm like, well, why does everybody have 6? If they got 30% more opportunity, would it make sense that could they expand? And are they missing opportunity because they just need to add a couple more stations and they could probably grow 25, 30 more %. So perfect. I'm a big thing. Same thing on salesperson. You might think the top salesperson is the best, but it might be, is he cherry picking all, he might be just cherry picking all the best leads. So sometimes it's trying to break down the segments. You might learn some things and see that we had that happen at Enterprise where we had, the top salespeople were really just cherry picking the warmer leads and getting all the good ones. So
delving deep into the data, and data doesn't lie, and the numbers don't lie, as you said. They'll come up with the answers for you.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Now explain to me about rowing together, connecting the silos. What is that all about in your business?
Yeah, I think that's about process. Also I learned at Enterprise, they're outstanding. They know how to drive operational excellence. 1 is people, 2 is a disciplined process. And part of that process is you got to make sure all the teams are rowing and aligning together. I look at it, you're all in a canoe. And if everyone's not paddling together, that canoe's going sideways, going all over the place and not moving very fluid. But when everyone's rowing together, that canoe gets going very nicely. And you need to have all aspects of the business being, hey, your products and services, your marketing, your people, even your location and territories need to kind of be aligned. And it's important to look at things in context, because often we look at, individually look at marketing, individually look at inventory, individually look at people. And I'll use that, I mentioned that Enterprise example with the salespeople. There was an example where I had somebody asked me to help with some, we had an operation, one of our markets was challenged and wanted to get some ideas on cost reduction and help them out. Well, this is where I kind of opened up and connected that. Not surprisingly, their sales productivity was one of the lowest in the country. But when I looked at their HR information, they were one of the more experienced sales staffs in the country. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Usually experienced sales and sales go together. This is where when I peeled the onion, the rookies were cherry picking all the warm, hot leads. And when you broke down the close ratio between warm and cold leads, the rookies were actually outperforming on close rate than the veterans.
Wow.
So that led to a nice leadership said, okay, no more of this cherry picking. Leads just go out and in the queue and the next one up takes it. And over that next year, sales productivity increased, retention went up, particularly with on those veterans, they either got, hey, they really needed coaching to get better, or maybe they got coached on, and then we kept the rookies. We were losing these rookies that were actually good because they couldn't feed their families selling only a handful of cars. So it really helped our not only sales productivity, but helped our retention because we more fairly allocated those leads. Because why should the rookies only get the cold leads? I know sometimes it's but and sometimes they need to get a little bit of a chance.
Yeah,
So and that's the same thing with I think it's a big thing with marketing. When you're marketing something, say you got a promotion. I just read something or listened to on a podcast how someone's talking about where they had a holiday promotion, but unfortunately, because of all these supply chain issues, a lot of their stores didn't get all the promotional products and weren't stocked up. So that promotion likely isn't going to perform that well if you're promoting, the marketing team's promoting one thing, but actually in the stores, not everybody has that product. So there could be some waste and alignment that you need to make sure they're all rolling together. And I'm a big fan on marketing. I know there's a lot of metrics. I love our marketing people. They are creative and fantastic. But one of the big things is, and I'm working with a client now where, they're getting the standard marketing things of, hey, website visits, bounce rates, clicks. And I'm like, what's that doing for you? Not much. I go, what do you want to know? Well, how much did we sell? Or how many proposals did it generate? So that's one of the things we're going to work on here is, okay, how do we measure that? Because marketing and operations and the sales team all need to be aligned. At the end of the day, it's about outcomes. Are we improving revenue? Are we growing the business and getting more people in the door from that? And that's how it is. It's trying to focus on that outcomes. And then you can segment it out between, hey, where, on that, it's then about segments, and then making sure that you have segments of, hey, which one of these segments is not performing well? My big thing on marketing is basically breaking it out in 3 buckets. You always get your advertising folks, but then is there a partnership bucket of maybe, going to associations, events, maybe even your employees? And the one I want to make sure people don't forget is, hey, your customers. Are your customers either repeat customers or customer referrals a source? And all 3 of those channels need to help with your business development and growing the business. And so that's the big thing is, hey, measuring to see, hey, how much business is coming from each of those, and just making sure is each one of those growing. As long as they're growing, you're probably happy. Do you need any more information? As long as each one of those 3 processes are moving forward, you're going to be happy. And the other thing is each 3 of those processes is a different business process. So that's why it's important to segment that out and kind of break those apart.
Wow, that is outstanding. Yep. Getting everybody to work together, build together as a team, and not having that canoe going all over the place, all in one straight direction, all rowing at the same time. Excellent.
Because that's one of those things is, you can add a bunch of salespeople, but if you don't increase your inventory and marketing, you may not see the results that you need to. Because sometimes as you increase pieces, you need to increase all the aspects. It's great, you could add a salesperson, but if you don't get market and get more leads in the door, how much is that going to change? Is it going to change enough? So you got to sometimes think about that. Because I did some studies at Enterprise that show that if we just increased inventory but not sales, we get a little bit, but not the full value. If we increase sales and not inventory, we'd increase a little bit, but not the full value. Now, when they increase together, it all grew nicely.
And then at that point in time, then you've got to hold everybody accountable for it. So you come up with accountability metrics, put the science to the art.
Yeah. I think a big thing on the accountability is, one of my beliefs is you should be able to measure your business from a 1-page summary. And if you can, that, hey, 1 page can kind of give you a sense of the business and where are your opportunities for improvement. Yes, there's a plethora of maybe other reports that provide further detail, but this 1 page, and I call it a leadership scorecard, can help you understand about the business and where are the opportunities. And if something's going well, you need much more information. Just, hey, guys, keep doing what you're doing. You're happy with it, but hey, where's the improvement areas? Then you can dig deep to see, oh, I need help in marketing. Let's dig in to see where that opportunity is. And a couple of those things, I'm big on benchmarking is the key when getting any reporting. That as a business owner, what do you want to know? I want to know, make sure, are we getting better? I want to know, are we improving? Are we growing? And are we growing 10% or 20%? I remember one of my enterprise executives, I remember his great story. He's like, some of the young folks are like, hey, how do we get more time with you? And he just goes, guys, you don't want time with me because my time is there to fix the problems. So it's a good thing. If you haven't met with me, that's a good thing because you haven't been a problem. So, because that's what the executives are typically doing, that, hey, they want to know the negatives because they want to correct those and move it forward. So, and I said, is focus. Number two on that scorecard is focusing on outcomes. And then one of the things is that I look at it is, there's always revenue and profitability, but I look at it as that, hey, who controls that? And at the end of the day, the one person that absolutely controls it is the customer, because they're required to nod their head yes.
True.
What you control as a business owner is, hey, do I have enough products or services and I have them at the right place at the right time? Did I market and make people aware of our products and services? Do I have enough people and the right people to take care of the people? And am I targeting the right audience and making sure we're doing our best with that? And in each of those pillars of the business, there's really two ways to grow. Either you get more productive with the resources you have, get a higher ROI, or you invest more. You add inventory, you add salespeople, you spend more dollars. And that leadership scorecard, in my opinion, each pillar should have that. Well, what's the volume? And then what's the ROI? And that will help. The numbers don't lie, will kind of help spell out what's working, what's not. And I'll just give an example. Building this for a consumer services company, as we did this for their stores, one of the first things we learned, I think not surprisingly, the biggest difference between the top and bottom performing stores was % loyal customer retention. Oh. And that was big difference number one. So that obviously said, okay, there's one thing is that's number one difference. So we need to look and artistically, you'd hear people say that, hey, there's just a different vibe in stores. So there's something you got to, you can address there. A couple of the locations, hey, they were short-staffed. Okay, there's a simple thing to fix that. Now you know that, hey, they're short-staffed. That's a difference that, hey, how do we get them, help them hire people? Was interesting on the marketing, it wasn't surprising that the bottom stores weren't doing very good getting loyal customers out of their new leads. That wasn't surprising. What was interesting we found is some of the top stores were actually getting complacent with their marketing and were not could be doing more marketing. Their number of leads was kind of very short compared to the others, that they were missing an opportunity. I'm sure they just got a little complacent. And my favorite part, which I kind of talk about, is that, hey, understanding opportunity is we measured that numerator, the performance against the opportunity. And we found out a couple things. One, it verified on a couple stores that where they kind of sensed the leadership problem, and the numbers validated that, hey, those stores had plenty of opportunity, that, it definitely was hey, the leadership needs coaching or maybe a change. Another one, it identified a couple stores that were at the top, and maybe they were at the top and maybe didn't have the most opportunity, that maybe these are some of the people you might want to promote next and move to a bigger store when the opportunity comes. And then that one where I mentioned that, hey, there was a store where, hey, we realized we had a facility issue. Maybe we can add a facility, because now we're looking at an opportunity that, hey, a facility size, we can maybe even grow further. So just from that one-page summary, I looked at it, hey, we found a lot of actionable steps that we could take for each one of the stores to drive their business better, just by looking at, like you say, hey, the customer is the one that only the customer can nod yes. Hey, what can you control? And you control each pillar of that business. And by having them all in one scorecard, you can see the things in context and make sure you're making the right decision of what's that priority for, that store. It could be divisions of a business, in a variety of ways. I'm just a big firm believer that, hey, if you have a one-page summary, can help you quickly see where we need to get our attention to.
As you can see, Roger is very enthusiastic about what he does, knows what he's talking about. You're a multi-unit owner. You want to grow into multi-unit ownership. You want to build that business up, whether you've got some already multi-units, whether you want to add multi-units, more units to what you have already. You owe it to yourself to give Roger a call on that. Definitely with that experience, Roger, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. You've got everything lined up in order. This, and then this. So Roger, how can people get a hold of you if they'd like to learn more?
Yeah, go to our website is unleashinsight.com. You can call me, feel free to call me at 314-276-2230. Always love to hear it. And I'm always love to chat. I love to share this and just educate people. So anytime people want to just have a conversation, just to learn and get some ideas just for themselves, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of these outcomes are, just getting, the numbers don't lie, providing a roadmap to success. I think just the peace of mind. A lot of these times the numbers is, you already had it in your mind, but it just gives you the confidence to move forward and push forward and just get everyone's buy-in. And then lastly, just the time savings, because you quickly rule out things, quickly confirm what to move forward with, and then you save your time for those truly things that you really need to debate a bit. So, it's fun stuff.
It sounds like
Always a lot
it.
of fun.
You definitely enjoy doing it. That's perfect. I love it. So you've got Roger's phone number, you've got where you can go find him at, or you can just give me a call and I'll introduce you to Roger, or send me an email and I'll get you in touch with Roger as well.
Yeah. And you can also email me at rogerb@unleashinsight.com.
One more time, a little slower.
rogerb@unleashinsight.com.
rogerb@unleashinsight.com. Perfect.
Yep.
Appreciate it, Roger.
Right.
And
well, thanks, Greg. Appreciate the time.
you bet. Have a great day, Roger. Take care.